You never quite know when things are going to get turned around for you out there on the water, kind of like this crew here who is taking this cargo vessel into Marsh Harbor in the Bahamas this past week when all of a sudden the vessel became grounded and their trip got cut short. Just like some of the things we'll see in this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. Our first story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to the small island kingdom of Bahrain, where this was the scene this past week, when two Royal Naval vessels that were in port at the island wound up colliding at the docks. The two vessels seen in these images are the HMS Chiddingfold and the HMS Bangor. The vessel we see backing up is the Chiddingfold as it winds up colliding with the docked HMS Bangor. Fortunately in this situation, no injuries are reported during the incident. The Royal Navy has launched an investigation to try and determine the cause of why these two vessels wound up colliding, but local sources are reporting that the Navy is saying they believe the accident was actually caused by a simple rewiring error. The HMS Chiddingfold, as we see here, was actually in port undergoing some regular maintenance and inspection. Upon completing that inspection, it is believed at this time that the motors were rewired incorrectly, and when the crew in this instance tried to put the vessel into full ahead forward, it in fact actually put the vessel into full ahead stern due to the rewiring issue causing the accident that we see here. Now fortunately, as we mentioned, no crewmen were injured during the actual incident, but the vessels are definitely not suffering the same fate as the damage to the ships was pretty severe. In fact, the early reports are estimating the damage between the two vessels is upwards of 25 million, and what was supposed to be a short stay in port for these boats to get inspection and regular maintenance done, obviously now is going to be a much longer stay as serious repairs are needed. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to Galveston, Texas, where this was the scene just a little over a week ago when the Norwegian cruise line vessel Prima was in port trying to disembark guests when all of a sudden a massive storm with winds in excess of 50 miles an hour came blowing through, causing the vessel to start breaking mooring lines as seen in these images here. Now, as many of you know, when mooring lines start snapping, they like to snap back and can be a very dangerous scene for anyone in the area. Now, fortunately in this situation, because the storms had started to roll in, most of the crew and people who were working on the docks had already taken shelter due to the storm and no injuries were reported. The cruise line was only partially delayed in disembarking its guests until the storm passed and they were able to get some new mooring lines secured on the vessel. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to Romania, where this was the scene just off the coast a little over a week ago as well, when the dry cargo ship, the Nordea Star, had departed the Trabzon port just a few days earlier, and it found itself off the coast of Romania in the Black Sea battling some rough weather, when the next thing they noticed, the vessel began to list and take on water and start to sink. The captain and crew quickly tried to assess the situation and see if the vessel could be salvaged, but quickly realized that the vessel was in immediate peril of possibly going under, the captain decided it was time to go ahead and abandon ship. The captain later claimed that abandoning the ship became a necessary measure as him and the crew had battled the rough conditions, but unfortunately the stability of the ship had become so compromised it was no longer safe to stay on board. Fortunately in this situation, all the crew were able to evacuate the vessel without any injuries. After evacuating the ship, the owners of the vessel actually quickly jumped into action, hiring salvage crews to attempt to tow the vessel back to the safety of the Romanian shoreline. At this time, an investigation has been launched to try and determine the full cause of the incident, but at this time it's unknown the full damage to the ship or what actually caused it to list. Our next story to make the boating news this week is actually going to bring us back stateside and take us over to Tennessee, where this was the scene just this past week, as many of us over here on the East Coast have been dealing with winter storms over the last couple weeks rolling through, dropping a ton of snow in areas that don't typically get that much, and in some cases causing instances like we see here. This is the scene at Fort Loudon Marina in Lenoir City, Tennessee, after some of those winter storms rolled through, dumping snow on the roof over the docks, causing many of the roofs to actually collapse on the vessels below, causing damage to vessels and in some cases causing some of these boats to actually wind up sinking in the marina.
That's my dream boat right there.
I told you guys Stacy.
Yeah.
It's like 2 months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I gotta save up some more money. The boat I'm living on. Huh?
Isn't that a Christmas?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I looked at a 46 Roamer a couple of years ago, and then I broke my wrist right before I went to buy it. So, yeah. Oh, yep, I see it.
Here we can see as our crew continues down the dock that the damage to the dock and many of the boats is pretty severe, and we can see the roof collapsed on many of the vessels right here at this scene. There's going to be some damage cleanup for quite some time in this marina.
I hear a bilge alarm. Was there?
Look at how this is.
Yeah, the whole thing is cocked sideways. That flybridge is completely flattened. I've been looking at these lately. I love those boats.
There's that elderly couple on that boat. His wife isn't doing very good health-wise, and he had to get her off. And
Was there a boat in this slip?
that one, not here.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen any. This sunk.
Yeah, I heard from people that they were. Yeah, it's still there. I heard from people there was boats sinking. You know, no one really knows. It's just, it's really hard to say. There's a fender at the bottom. Was there a boat in here or no? Yeah, I don't see any. Yes, sir. Ooh. Yeah, she's gonna need tow. Whoa, look at that finger.
Yeah, it's quite. I hope it's not total, but it might be.
I'm not sure. It looks like your railings are toast. It doesn't look like it might be taking on water. I'm not entirely sure. It could just be pinned in place right now.
I think I went on board. I didn't see any water.
Yeah, well then it might not be taking on water, but it's definitely gonna get towed.
Yeah.
Something's cracking and popping down there. Yeah. That's so sad, man. So sad. Here, mind if I take a walk down here real quick?
I'm not gonna go.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't. You know, at this point, it's probably safer just not to. Oh, that houseboat's sunk. That boat's sunk. All right, let's get off this thing. Those boats are actively.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here, just like Kayla Marie, David Rogers, and Caleb Bellin did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here. If not, we're coming to steal your drain plug.